Hi, my name is Jo. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to cover my March TBR, and the day that I'm currently filming this, it is February 25th, so February is not quite over. However, even though I had a list and I filmed my February TBR, the actual books that I've read have sort of spun out of control. This is mostly thanks to renewing my library card and therefore using Libby a lot, so I have read a lot of audiobooks while I've been at work, hence the amount of content I have been able to consume. So February has been an amazing month, and I am so grateful to the Libby app. But I have read most of the books that were on my February TBR. There are a couple stragglers, but because I still have a few days left of February, I might get some of these done just in case. I am going to also put them in my March TBR. So I do have 9 books on my March TBR. I have 2 that are Kindle, 1 that's audiobook, and then the rest I actually have physical copies of. And I also do have book mail for 1 of the physical copies, so I'll be opening that in today's video. Let's start with the 2 books that I'm going to read on my Kindle. The first one is The Queen of Nothing, which is the 3rd book in the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. The first 2 books of this series, The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King, were both on my February TBR because I was able to pick them up from the library, and I did really enjoy them, so I will probably be purchasing this series to have physical copies of at some point. But putting a hold on the physical copy of this book in my library looked like it was going to take a long time, so I just decided to change it up a little bit, and the 3rd one I'll just be reading on my Kindle because that's what was available right away. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one I was obsessed with. This is a YA fantasy series. It has a ton of political intrigue. Our female main character is incredible. There is a romantic subplot, but it is a subplot, so just go in knowing that if that was your expectation. However, even though it is a subplot, it is so fascinating and so page-turning that you are just gonna want to read all of them, so highly recommend having all 3 ready to go, especially because the first 2 do end on massive cliffhangers. I'm also hoping to read the 2 novellas in the series. I was able to check both of them out through Libby to read on my Kindle. If I'm right, both of them are fairly short though, so I'm not adding them to my TBR because if I get to them, I get to them, and if I don't, I will just read them in the following month or something. And if you're like me and you were just late to the party with this series, it is about a human girl named Jude from our world, and she ends up sort of trapped in the fairyland. And because humans are considered to be so low on the food chain in the Fae world, it is a struggle for her to just survive. But she has big goals and dreams of what she wants in this world, and we see her do everything she can to attain those. Her determination is absolutely epic, and what she's able to achieve is inspiring and fascinating, and I just cannot recommend this series enough. The second book that I am hoping to read on my Kindle this month is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I am in a few book clubs, and this book is one of the ones that was chosen for one of those book clubs this month. Twisted Love is the first book in the Twisted series. This is a romance book, potentially a dark romance. It's kind of hard to get the exact vibe from Goodreads, but from what I've heard, this is one of those series that's like toxic, but you can't stop reading it, which was very much me with the Zodiac Academy, so no judgment. But this one sounds like it is a brother's best friend, opposites attract, grumpy sunshine kind of vibe. I do feel like I've seen this series all over BookTok with varying reviews. I feel like half of the people I've seen read it hate it, and the other half are sort of obsessed. Again, just from that, it's giving me like Zodiac Academy vibes, not in the sense of fantasy, but in the sense of the relationships. But the book club that this was chosen for, we've never done a strictly romance book. If anything, we've just stuck to romantasy kind of vibes. We've done some science fiction, but definitely mostly romantasy. So it'll be fun to gather next month and discuss something that's a little bit out of the norm for this group. And this is sort of a perfect segue into the audiobook I'll be reading this month because it is a romantasy for that book club. This audiobook is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the first book in the Crimson Moth duology, and it involves a witch and a witch hunter. The description of this book is definitely giving me the vibe of a fantasy version of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, because it does seem like our witch and our witch hunter end up using each other without the other knowing it. And of course, when they're using each other to fight for what they both believe in, they end up realizing that their feelings for the other person aren't so shallow. Now we are onto my physical books, and the first physical book is also for this book club. It is Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and that is the package that I have to open, so we're gonna do that now. Now, if I remember correctly, I did get this signed. I've never read a book by Ali Hazelwood, and this is her first paranormal romance, so I figured I might as well go all out. This package is from Books A Million, and it is a signed copy. I see my little sticker there, so let's open it. And here is Ali Hazelwood's autograph with a cute little heart. I am so happy to have this in my collection. And I'm also really happy that my book club decided to give this a go because I was gonna read it anyway, and not having to add to my TBR is always very nice. It does look like this follows the marriage of convenience trope, which I absolutely love, and the marriage of convenience is between an alpha werewolf and a vampire. Our female main character is named Misery Lark. She is the vampire in this situation and is the daughter of a powerful vampire councilman. Sounds like she's a little bit of an outcast, and it definitely seems like she's keeping some kind of secret about why she's entering this marriage of convenience. The synopsis on the inside ends with, and she is willing to do whatever it takes to get back what's hers. And on top of how intriguing that sounds to me personally, the cover is actually really pretty. The bits of silver and gold on the front just really shine when the light hits them, and I think it is stunning. So that is it for book club picks for the month so far. I don't know what my other book club will be reading, and when I find out, that will probably throw a wrench in my March TBR, but we'll just work with it. Because I think Bride was technically on my February TBR, I'm gonna stick with that theme. I have 2 more books that are on my February TBR that I may or may not get to by the end of February, so I'm gonna throw them on this March TBR. The first one is The Signature Move. I opened this in my February TBR video. It's by Cassandra Diviak. This is a romance book that's kind of giving rivals to lovers or enemies to lovers vibes. It sounds like they're in the same area and end up having to share a rink. Our male main character is the captain of a hockey team that is not doing well, but he's very passionate about making them good and winning the championship, whereas our female main character is a really good figure skater, and so that definitely causes some problems between the two of them. I'm also getting like Grumpy Sunshine vibes because it seems like she is going to be the sunshine to his Grumpy. It says, when the gold medalist skater and the underdog hockey captain clash, it's only a matter of time before ice cold hostility melts into passion. And it did show me opening this in my February TBR, but this is a signed copy with a little quote from the author as well, so whether I end up loving this or not, I am still happy to have it in my collection. And the last book that was on my February TBR that is likely going to move to my March TBR is A Vicious Game by Melissa Blair. This is the 3rd book in the Halfling Saga, but I believe it is not the final one. The cover is absolutely stunning, as are the covers for the first 2 books in the series. And with the way that the last book left off, our female main character is definitely going to have to figure out how to deal with the antagonist. It's an antagonist that's been there but has now risen into more power. So it sounds like there are more secrets to uncover on both the antagonist side of the war but also the rebellion side of the war. And I think that our female main character learning more about her ancestors and her family line will be a big piece of this book as well. This is a romantasy series. There is a romantic subplot. As I've mentioned before, I really enjoyed our male main character in the first book, less so in the second book, and I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of his personality back in A Vicious Game. Next up on my March TBR, I am apparently sticking with the Bride Allie Hazelwood paranormal romance theme because I have this one on my list. This is The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. It is a friends with benefits, fake dating, wolf shifters romance. Both of our main characters are some kind of doctor. Our female main character's grandmother is very passionate about her finding a mate, so that's what's leading her towards finding someone to fake date. And apparently our male main character is an unmated alpha where there are some stigmas surrounding that, so fake dating serves him well too. I did end up choosing this one kind of randomly because I had a Barnes & Noble gift card and I went in looking for The Nanny by Lana Ferguson, but they didn't have that one. They did have this one instead, so I decided to give this one a try, and if I end up liking this one, I'll probably go back looking for The Nanny or just order it online. I do think the wolf paw prints here are a very cute touch, and the last part of this synopsis is also very cute. It says lines start to blur and they quickly realize love is a whole different kind of animal. Next up we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston or Ashley Poston. This is a romance that I have heard nothing but good things about, so I do have pretty high expectations for this one. Our female main character is named Clementine, and when her aunt passes away, she does move into her aunt's apartment, and her aunt has told her that the apartment feels like it's sort of a pinch in time. But it's not until Clementine moves into the apartment that she realizes her aunt was being so serious about that, because there's a man in the apartment when she goes in, and she realizes that the man and the apartment itself are 7 years in the past. So I'm assuming that the big problem with the romance happening in this book is that they are from different times. I am really excited to read this one because of the amazing reviews and because I haven't read a book with any plot that is similar to this. And the last book on my TBR for March is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Now I did end up reading this as an audiobook in February completely randomly. It was just available on the Libby app. There was nothing else that really looked interesting to me. I read one other book by Emily Henry, Book Lovers, and I enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 4 stars. It was a cute romance book. It was a little slow for me, but it was good. So I decided to just give this audiobook a try because it was there. When I got to like the 90% mark of this book, I had already cried so much and just fallen in love with the book so much that I knew I needed a physical copy. So I picked this up this morning and my goal is to reread this month. And I got this book not only because I love it, so I want to add it to my collection, but because so much of it was so beautifully written that I do want to go back and highlight all of my favorite quotes because there were a lot. I did go in thinking this was a romance book, but it ended up being so much more than that. I was explaining this to someone yesterday, and the best way that I can describe this book is, you know, when you were a teenager and you read or watched one of those really impactful coming of age stories. Like for me, my life-changing one was The Perks of Being a Wallflower, for example. This is what that felt like to me, but a coming of age story for an adult. I'm 26 and this is exactly what I needed right now. This covers so many topics. It covers friendships as an adult, relationships as an adult, breakups as an adult, hobbies as an adult, the importance of communicating your feelings. There's LGBT rep. I think the point of this book is to show people that we all continue to grow. As time goes on, who you are today is not the same person you were 10 years ago. And neither are the people around you. Who they are is not the same as who they were 10 years ago. This book makes you think about as both you and your loved ones grow. What do those relationships look like? Because it's true that sometimes we do outgrow people. Sometimes friendships just naturally end when there's not even really any bad blood. But when we don't want those relationships to end and we're both growing, what does that look like? Because with growth comes change, and change brings uncomfortable moments. And how do my uncomfortable moments work with the person I'm in a relationship with, the person that I'm in a friendship with? The people that are my my family members. So all that to say, if you have not read this book, I cannot recommend it enough. It was immediately a 5-star read for me. I really went in underestimating this and not really knowing all of what it was about, but now that I've read it, this is probably going to be like one of those yearly rereads for me. It was just so impactful. It's one of those pieces of media that I just so randomly happened to read at the exact right time in the exact moment of my life where I needed it. So this is my new treasure, and I will be highlighting it and loving it forever and giving it a place of honor somewhere on my shelf. So that is it for my March TBR, and hopefully I will be back soon with my February wrap up with all of the reviews from the books that I read this month. And that may be coming a little bit closer to mid-March than the beginning of March, because during the first week of March I will be at Emerald City Comic Con, where there are a plethora of authors attending. So not only will I be meeting a bunch of them and bringing my books to get signed, but I'll also be cosplaying some bookish characters, and I'm also meeting some of the cast of Twilight, so I will be cosplaying a character from Twilight as well, which technically counts as bookish. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.